Good morning to my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5 a.m. club. It's about 5:30 on this magnificent Friday. Looks like it's a clear sky. Can't see because it's dark at the moment. It's getting darker and darker of the morning. So with the sunrise about 6:15. It's still. The trees are still, so there's no breeze. So we'll see where this day leads us. And what I'd like to do is take you on a Jim's 5 a.m. club walk and talk. I'll head down to the harbour and we'll do a book summary. And the book summary that I've chosen to pick today is an interesting one, an empowering one. And it's entitled The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. And the author is John Gottman. John Gottman is writing about the 7 principles for making marriage work. We've got the light rail here just pulling up in front of the Mantra Hotel. And I'm standing in front of the Australia Square, which when I was a kid was the tallest building in Australia. But a lot has changed since then, so it's not as anyway as tall as many of the other buildings around us. Anyway, this book is all about working out how to have a healthy relationship, and more importantly, a healthy relationship with your wife, your partner, your spouse. And the author lets us know something that I think we all know, that many of the problems in every relationship are pretty similar. So the challenges that everybody faces in a relationship are similar. And we look at identifying what fundamental problems are that plague relationships. So the first lesson from this book is the author talks about the importance of developing a love map and setting up a fondness and admiration system. Now that's getting out there, isn't it? Looking at a thing called a love map and setting up a fondness and a admiration system. Love it. Anyway, so what's a love map? What's all this stuff all about? Not quite sure, but let's have a look. So what the author reminds us of and informs us of is that the brain has a love map that stores a lot of personal and sensitive information about your partner. A lot of sensitive and personal information about your partner. How cool is that? So the more detailed your love map is, the more love and the stronger your love is about your partner. So this whole concept of a love map is very, very interesting indeed. And the author then goes on to say that many marriages fail because they simply, when they say they, the partner or the partners, they simply don't know enough about each other, and they don't know each other well enough. And how true that is, you know, if you sit down and got partners to talk about their partner and ask them to list, you know, their favourite flower, their favourite memory, their favourite song, you know, how they, you know, where they were born, how they grew up, all that sort of detail that you probably would have asked questions about early in the piece when you first met your partner. Most of that has now since been forgotten and is no longer relevant, sadly, but truly. So the author says that to assess if a relationship is salvageable, psychologists look into at how a couple reflect on their past and whether or not they look back over their married life and still have respect and admiration for each other. And the good point is that if you've got good memories, then 96% of partners or relationships have a good future. So it's all about the memories, it's all about the love map that you've developed over time. So that's why it's important, that's why it's critical to think positively and to establish good rules of engagement so that you build a strong love map for your partner so that you can stay together and be stickable. So what are the questions that we need to ask in order to identify whether or not we are in a good relationship with our partner? Well, three of the questions that the author comes up with are when we are apart, I think of my partner fondly. So the question one is when you're apart, when you're not with your partner and you occasionally think of your partner, do you think of them fondly, or do you think of them in a negative way, in a way which is aggressive or, has disappointment in it? The second question that the author talks about is I could easily list 3 things I admire about my partner. Pretty simple, yet for many people it would be challenging, I'd expect. Can you list 3 things that you love about your partner? Now, these are good questions. These are good questions that I think most people have never even considered, but are worth thinking about and are worth mulling over. Because we're always thinking about things, and I guess the question is, are you thinking about things which are empowering and things that are going to help generate and develop your love map? And the last thing that the author talks about is, is your partner, is your wife, or if you're a woman, is your husband, or, once again, it's no longer as relevant these days. The question is your partner happy to see you when you come into the room? Or is it just the puppy? Or is it just the dog that is happy to see you? Great questions. I love that questioning. So something to consider, something to think about, and something to start practicing, I'd say. So which leads me into the second point of the book, that you need to start practicing being considerate and understanding, and to identify the nature of problems that you have. The most important thing, regardless of what other things happen in your life, the most important thing is your day-to-day conversations that you have with your spouse and your partner. And you need to look at the bids for attention, support and affection. Because each partner, each person is putting out messages, is putting out bids to the other partner to gain attention, to receive support, and to once again to generate or receive affection. And we'll continue to go on our walk. I'll cross across the tracks here. So I'm on the tracks here of the light rail in Sydney on George Street, in front of the NAB tower, or the IBM building now. It's changed names. But in terms of statistics, the author raises an interesting one here, that 81%, you've got an 81% of being divorced if you don't share power with your spouse. You know, as if you needed to have statistics, or if you needed to have a report to try and work that one out. It's pretty well common sense that if you're not sharing power, if you're not sharing the responsibilities and everything that happens in the family with your partner, then you're going to have problems, especially this day and age where people are more independent and people expect far more from their relationships than what they did in the past. But the other thing the author said here, which I wasn't quite aware of and I didn't quite think about as much as what I should have, is that there will always be both solvable and unsolvable problems in a relationship. I was always of the impression that everything is solvable, but the author, rightly so, says that you're always going to encounter problems which are solvable and unsolvable, which is refreshing, I've got to admit. And you need to acknowledge and label the problems as solvable or unsolvable, and just respect the fact that there are some problems that each relationship has which just can't be solved, but you just need to accept them, respect them, and just move on. And the third point in the book here is how to deal with difficulties. And once again, the solution is pretty simple. It's all about dialogue. It's all about talking. It's all about finding out what is feeding the conflict. Because, you know, in our relationships, in our friendships, in our relationships with our partners, our spouses, you know, there is conflict which happens on occasion, and you basically need to try and figure out what is feeding that conflict. You know, there's usually a thing or two, a person, a situation, a timing, something that happens that feeds the problem and just brings it to a head. And you need to acknowledge that you don't need to agree on everything, but you need to share with your partner the things that you don't agree on and why you don't agree on them, just so that they understand where you're coming from and to understand your sensitivities. The author says also that we need to share our aspirations and our values, because sharing is caring. You know, don't keep secrets from your partner. Don't live a life in silo where you just do your own thing all the time, because that's going to bring you problems. So, and the last thing in this book is the importance of agreeing on roles. Whilst a lot of people think that it's not important to have roles within a relationship, the author here makes it very, very clear that roles and agreement on roles is critical to maintaining a healthy relationship. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me on Jim's 5am Club on this Friday. It's the day before the weekend, and the book once again was entitled The 7 Principles for Making a Marriage Work. We only went through about 3 of them, the key 3, but I hope that gave us some food for thought. The book from John Gottman, and I think I'll leave it there. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, stay married if you can, and learn the techniques or the life hacks, the marriage hacks that the author has raised, and have a think about all of these things, and look at developing your love map, look at generating dialogue with your partner, understanding each of the roles and giving each other power in the relationship to decide and to mull over things and to make things happen, and also to realise that there are things that are solvable and unsolvable in every relationship, and just to identify the things that feed, that the source of feed for the challenges, and just learn to work through them and stay connected as best you can. So take care, and we'll chat again. Like ya, and I'll see you later on in the day with another book summary where we just examine and do a bit deeper dive into some of the things that may help us become better at what we do. Bye for now, and yasas.